Good evening, everyone. I'm Gail Cottle, coming to you live from the Cottle Kitchen. I have here with me my 17-year-old daughter, Danielle. Everybody say hello. She's going to be controlling the camera, and she's also going to be learning how to cook the pork tenderloin that's stuffed with green collards, or turnip greens, as we say in the South. So, I've already preheated my oven over here at 275 degrees, and that's because this is going to cook for 2 to 2.5 hours, so we want to make sure we preheat that. Over here, I already have my saute pan that you got in the recipe. And as you can see, I have just a little bit of oil started in that, and that's just enough to layer the bottom of the pan. So what we're going to do is first go through our ingredients, okay? First, I have the apple cider. I have about 2 cups here, and you can always add as you go, so you have your jug handy. You have your butter, because you're going to make your caramelization, along with your brown sugar. Then you're going to have your green Granny Smith apples. You're going to dice them into little bitty pieces like this, if everybody can see that, okay? Next, you have your collard greens, and you don't need much because you're just going to stuff them in there. But you have extras in case you need them. These are already washed, and all you got to do is cut them, and you're going to chop them into little fine pieces. So your pieces are going to be about this big, okay? Some people will soak theirs, but because we're cooking it into the meat, it's actually the juice from the meat is going to make it tender. Over here we have our peppered bacon that we're going to wrap the tenderloin with. If you can see that, you can get any brand of your choosing. That's up to you. Okay, so down here, if you can see, okay, we have our pork tenderloin. Usually it comes 2 to a pack. What you're going to do, and what I did is just cut a slice down the middle, and I just kind of spread it open like this. And this is just because we're going to stuff them. Okay, and we have a glass pan that we're going to put our finished product in. So what we're going to do now first is we're going to take this and we're going to sear the open side in our pan. And it won't take long. We're just not even going to cook it all the way through. We're just going to sear it just a little bit. Be careful, of course, because you are cooking with fingers. Now, I didn't put this in the recipe, but you might choose to, and that's just to add a little salt and pepper to it. Give it a little bit of flavor. It doesn't take much. And then what I want to do, bear with me here, for the corner, is I'm going to take this out now, and I'm going to set this to the side here. And as you can see, it just seared it just a little bit in that, and that just gives it a nice little flavoring in that oil. Remember, that was virgin olive oil. It's healthier. It gives it a better taste as well. So we're just going to do this one real quick. And again, I'm going to add a little bit of salt and pepper to it. I use sea salt. It is healthier, but ground salt and pepper is always better as well. And it doesn't take much. So we're going to set those aside. And you'll notice when you do it, the smell that's already in the kitchen. We're going to turn this down. Mine is a gas stove. So if you look at the knob, it's kind of in between the medium and the low range here. And you just want to do that. Now you're going to add 2 tablespoons of butter. And here's just so you can make your caramelization. Remember, you're adding butter to hot grease, so be very careful. You might want to pick it up a little bit here. And just be very careful with that, because that grease will splatter. The caramelization is because you're going to caramelize your apples, and it's just going to give it a good flavor. So we're going to let that melt down a little bit. Of course, you don't have to use that much butter if you don't want to. That's truly up to you. I said it was good. I didn't say it was extremely healthy, but it is healthy because you're getting your pork tenderloin is really good. It also is your collard greens. If you feel like you have too much butter in there, you can always do with infamous scoop your butter out, which is what I'm going to do. So that's up to you. But I always start off with 2 tablespoons just because I want to make sure I have enough. Next, we're going to go ahead and add our brown sugar. Now, the brown sugar, it's play by ear. You're just going to add enough in here to make it so it is a golden brown. We're going to take our little spoon here. I don't like to keep brown sugar in the refrigerator because it does harden. So you want to kind of mush that up a little bit. And as you can see, it's starting to turn that golden brown because we're going to caramelize everything. Some of you may be wondering, no, I've never professionally cooked. I was a single mom for years, and you come up with ideas to make your children eat. Being from the South, I absolutely love collard greens, and I love pintos with ham hock, all fresh foods. I don't really like canned vegetables too much at all. We're just going to add a little bit more because I want a little bit more caramelization, kind of soak up this butter that's in here, if y'all can see. And again, this is just to play it by ear. It depends on how much butter you use. You can be your best call on that. So now that we have this, we're going to turn our temperature back up to medium. The reason we turned that down was because we didn't want to start a grease fire. And now we're going to take our apples. And we're just going to pour our apples in here. And yeah, it's going to start sizzling a little bit, but that's okay because we're caramelizing our apples. So that's okay. And you're going to let those cook for just a little bit as they caramelize. Okay? So I probably keep stirring them for a little bit. Give it a rest for a little bit, and let's let them cook for about a minute. And we'll be right back. Remember, you just want to stir it a little bit as you go. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and add our collard greens into our apple mixture. We're going to go ahead and add those in. We're just going to soak those collards really good in the caramelization mixture with your brown sugar and your apples, your butter. You're just going to kind of get that a good flavor in there. Alright, now you're going to add your apple cider. If y'all can see how this looks a little bit, does not look great. Now, I don't feel like I have enough greens in there to do me justice, so I'm actually going to cut up just a little bit more real quick. So as you're cooking, we're just going to cut along the stalk here. And then what I do is I just kind of layer them on top of each other. Go ahead and scoop these up. And granted, I'm feeding my family, not a restaurant, or I wouldn't have used my hands. Now I feel like I have enough mixture here. Actually, I like more collards than that. So let me just go ahead and cut up a little bit more. Like I said, most packets of tenderloins come with 2 to it. So now you can see it's starting to boil, and you just want to simmer that in there. Get all that flavoring into those collard greens. And you can start to smell grains cooking as well. Some people don't like the smell of them, but when you add this mixture to it, it kind of takes that smell out a little bit. Now I did put in there that you need 2 bundles, and this is why, because you never know exactly how many collards you want. It all depends on your family. Tonight I have my grandbaby and my daughter and son-in-law here, so I'm cooking a little bit more. So I want to make sure I have enough in there. This can be cooked with, I like to use country potatoes. Sometimes I'll make loaded country potatoes. And of course I can't tell you how to do that because, well, that's my secret. But you can make your own little mashed potatoes and do it that way. One of my favorite cooks is Paula Deen. I absolutely enjoy watching her. So does my daughter. Not the one running the camera, but the oldest one. She absolutely loves Paula Deen as well. Okay. So we're just going to let that kind of cook in a little bit. Remember, you also had some of that searing of the pork wasn't already in some of that oil that we used, so you've got some of that pork flavor already submerged into your mixture too, which is good. So now we're going to go ahead and take our apple cider, and we're just going to go ahead and just pour it in here. And we're going to let that cook for a little bit. Yes, it is watery, but that's only because you're letting it simmer. And it's going to have like a slow boil to it. And that's only because you're just infusing that apple cider now in with the turnip greens. This takes a lot of the bitterness out of the turnip greens, which is why a lot of people don't like it. Some people will take turnip greens and they use ham hock and they'll add bacon. They'll cook it with some fresh pintos or fresh cornbread. Now, turnip greens are really good. I've heard many jokes about them, tasting like rubber and all. But if you cook them right, they won't taste like rubber, and it all depends on the cook. Now I am adding a little bit more, just so I can even out my mixture here. You may not use all of it, and that's okay. But you want to use as much as you can to stuff. There's not really much you're stuffing into the meat, but at least you're getting some grains into your family. My husband is from the north. I call him a Yankee, and he hated collard greens until I created this dish for him, and he now absolutely loves it. So we're just gonna kind of bring this up to a little roll and boil here. We'll be back in just a minute. We'll let it boil. Just coming back in, I'm going to stir my mixture a little bit more. I hope everybody can hear me okay. I'm sure the teacher's going to be fussing because I've had my back to the camera. But unfortunately, I don't have a studio, so I have to kind of cook this way. We're just going to let that boil. Now I'm going to turn mine up just a little bit. We can bring it to a boil a little bit more. so we're back. It's coming to a boil. And I don't want to boil it too much because you can actually ruin it, because I want to also infuse the pork flavoring into it while we're cooking it. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this off. So I just turned it off. And then the next thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to stuff. And this is going to become an interesting part. So if you'll give me 2 seconds, I'm going to need someone else in to do the camera while I stuff. Because I need 4 hands to do this. You will need a partner in crime to help you wrap and all that good stuff. So let me go ahead and get my bacon ready. So that way I can have it. I have my glass dish here. And I have my aluminum foil as well. That's what we're going to cover it with. So there's all this good stuff here, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I have my lovely husband coming in. He's actually going to help me wrap the bacon. So you can see he's washing his hands. So he's going to help me wrap it after I stuff it, because you want to kind of keep it together. So we're going to go ahead and start. As you see, I'm just still trying to, you don't want to pierce this side, okay? It's very important. You want it just enough hole. It doesn't have to be perfect. You see mine's thicker on one side than it is on the other, and that's okay. Be sure to wash your hands because you are messing with raw meat. So on this, I now have this type of little thingy, and that's so I can grab. And I'm going to go ahead and stuff. I'm going to dress it out. So I'm going to go ahead and stuff this in. It is a little hot, so you want to be careful. Okay. I'm just going to get some more. And see what I mean? You're going to have extra mixture left over. But it's always better to be safe than sorry. You want to kind of stuff that in there really good. Honey, will you hand me a spoon so I can kind of scoop this in there? I don't know if everybody can see it, so I have a spoon. Okay. So I'm just going to kind of keep stuffing that down in there. Still has some meat exposed here, so I'm going to get a little bit more mixture here. As you can see, we're going to go ahead and do it this way. Now comes the fun part. There's always good times to spend with your family, your husband, or your children while you're doing this. Because you can talk while you're wrapping it and all too. So we're just going to take a piece of bacon. And we're going to start. Hope everybody can see here. I'm going to start it like this. And my husband is going to help me kind of squeeze it together. So, honey, if you'll just squeeze the meat, actually, like this. And he's a doll because he's already got me another piece of meat ready here. I didn't say this was a clean experiment, but it is fun. So you're just going to keep kind of stuffing that in there. Okay. And you can kind of squeeze the meat. Now, y'all might have better ways and more experience at stuffing the meat, but this is just some way that I've learned is best for me. You don't require, it doesn't require any type of toothpicks or anything like that. The reason I choose pepper bacon is because it also is going to give that pork tenderloin a unique flavor as well. And that, the fat from that is going to cook into the pork tenderloin, and I promise you this will be butter when you bite into it. So hold on just a minute. We're going to just do one more. I'm just going to wrap it really good here. Okay, so it's wrapped. Can you help me kind of go ahead and throw this piece over just like that? You got that in? We're just going to... Now, granted, you could put toothpicks in it, but I don't like to cook with toothpicks too much. And that's what it's going to look like when you put it down in your glass pan. Okay, and it's just going to cook just like that. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do this other one. Again, kind of spread it open a little bit. Okay, you're going to see you're going to get dirty. We're going to go ahead and put our mixture in and stuff it here. The good thing about teenagers is when you're done and it's their night to do dishes, as is my daughter's, she'll thank me for having to clean all this up. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
Alright. I'm going to add just a little bit more. Hot, hot, hot tomatoes, hot tomatoes. Just going to stuff it down in there. And we're going to go ahead and wrap this one. So let's go ahead and start here. I'm going to start instead of on the end. This time I'm going to start wrapping the center of it. Sometimes you may overlap your bacon. Okay. This one, right here. Thank you. Okay, honey, if you can. Oh, I got this one already. So we're just going to let that go, and that's what it looks like. So I'm going to wash my hands, and then we're going to cover this with aluminum foil. Slide it in the oven at 275 degrees. You're going to cook this for about 2 hours. After 2 hours, we're going to remove the aluminum foil, and we're going to cook it for another 30 minutes. Now, because I'm not really technical savvy, what we're going to do is go ahead and stop this video. This is the end of part 1, so you see what it looks like going into the oven. And then in part 2, you'll see what it looks like coming out. Just remember, cook it for 2 hours. Set your timer if you need to. You're going to slow cook it. That is going to be covered. After 2 hours, you're going to remove that cover and you're going to cook it for 20 to 30 minutes depending on the browning of it. And then on the next one, we'll show you what it looks like when it comes out and how easy it is to slice. Thank you.